Okay. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry to have to ask that twice, but I did something funky when I was trying to turn the recording back on, and I just wanted to make sure that it was done correctly. So this is the reverse pitch training class. And let me tell you a little bit about me. This is my seventh, the HACC is 7 years old, and so am I relative to HACC. I've been in all 7. I have been seriously involved for the last 4, either the administrator or the main focal point for participants and sponsors and sponsor challenges. I probably could answer just about any question you have about it at this point. So I used to live in, I'm currently living in California. I've lived in Hawaii for 8 years, and I have my own consulting business, and that's how I kind of got involved in this. So next slide. Okay, so today's topics, we're going to go over the fundamentals. We're going to discuss storytelling and tips and tricks. So this is, in a nutshell, what you're trying to do. You're trying to introduce your challenge, discuss the problem that you're trying to solve, and then what you're asking for, what the solutions that you think might help solve your problems. You want to supply that information primarily, not because you want to lock them into a solution, but to give them some idea of what you're thinking about. And that really is helpful to the team. The other thing you want to be aware of is you have 10 minutes, but you don't necessarily have to take all 10 minutes. But the maximum time we give you to do your reverse pitch is 10 minutes. So the fundamentals are basically the bar pitch, the elevator pitch, and what we call it, what we're referring to as the HACC pitch. These principles or fundamentals come from the entrepreneurial startup world and how companies elicit interest in their solutions and how they raise funds for their startup ideas. So we take those concepts and we've massaged them a little bit to explain to you how to do a reverse pitch. Now, in like startup weekends and so forth, people like canoodle for an hour or 2 with each other, and then they pitch an idea, and then they try to get people to come onto their team to help them work the rest of the weekend on that. So that's the idea that we're going to have for you, is that you are that person who's, canoodling and putting together an idea so that you can get people to come help you solve your problem. So the first piece, and the reason we're going to break it up this way, is because you can build up to it. You start with your bar pitch, the 20 seconds introduction, then you go to the elevator pitch, which is about 60 seconds, and then you go to the full-blown pitch. And the idea is the bar pitch and the elevator pitch are part of the full-blown pitch, and it gives you a moment to think about that. So I've modified this a little bit. So your organization name, so like the Department of Education. We are legislative trackers who are trying to help the Department of Education better evaluate legislature in order to better respond to legislature and testimony and meetings. So that would be quick. The one that I know the best at the moment, it happens to be that one. So I cheated and let them did that for them. And that's kind of what they are. It's like, we're the Department of Education, and we're looking, we have a problem that we're looking for help on. And the problem would be, for the Department of Education, is that their tracker is going away because the person who built it is retiring 5 years. And then what you want to do, which is we want to build a new tracker to replace the legacy one. So the way this works in the corporate world is, so Airbnb is an online platform that helps homeowners rent out their extra rooms in their house. This is not as applicable to you, but I wanted to share it because it kind of gives you an idea of how you can really distill down your topic into just a few easy 20-second bites, sound bite. And so when you open up your pitches on the 15th, I suggest that you have a soundbite that says, "Hi, I'm from the Department of Education. My name is blah, blah, blah. And we have a legislative tractor, it's being retired. We need your help building a new one." So that's like your 20-second bit. I'm going to skip Slack. So your value proposition is what you do, who you do it for, and what you do for them, which is, what you're doing. That again, this is a little reversed in that what you have, who you are is your department, the problem your problem that you're trying to solve, and what you're hoping to achieve from this hackathon would be a little more of your value proposition in this case. The 60-second pitch is when you're trying to, normally I would let you come back at this, but I'm gonna save that for a little later. So give me a second to go through these two, and then I'm gonna go around the room and have you introduce yourself using these concepts. I'll ask you to turn on your camera. I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll ask you to turn on your camera and then do something like this. Just really quickly say what your department is, what your problem is, and how you're hoping to have it solved. Okay, so the elevator pitch is a little longer. So the introduction, problem, and ask are the three pieces. Now the introduction is that bar pitch, that really quick, who you are, what you do, who you serve component. The problem is the second phase. What is the problem? Who has the problem? Why is it urgent? Why is it important? The ask is, what's the solution looking for? You have an idea like that maybe we can do this with this data, and then that will solve this problem with this solution. Okay, so I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. So since Ian, are you or John? So Ian and John and Rika are all one team. Did one of you want to kind of introduce your team and then your members, and then give me what your agency is, what your problem is, and how you're hoping to try to solve it?
Sure. So I'm John O'Connor, and both Ian and Rika work with me in a company called NIC. And what we do is we do web services, websites, and various other payment services for various agencies within the state of Hawaii. Ian is in our system administration area, and Rika is one of our developers. And what we're looking to accomplish is there is a tool that folks in different agencies use called opendata.hawaii.gov. There's a lot of data in this tool that is available to different agencies and other folks. But the tool itself provides output in a typical kind of an Excel sort of format. So what we're looking to accomplish, the goal is to come up with a way to use this tool more effectively. In other words, create the output of the tool to be more friendly. So we're talking about data visualization. Mm-hmm. So we'd like to add some data visualization concepts along with the data in that tool. If you imagine just clicking on a button and pulling up a pie chart or a graph or some kind of other visualization from the data that you're pulling out of that site.
Fantastic. Okay, that's great. And will all three of you be presenting, or just one or two of you be presenting?
Probably one or two of us.
Okay, and you're all three and welcome to participate. We divide, and you just tell us how you divide up, and we go from there. Okay.
Okay.
Let's next. Brandon and Misty, would you like to go next, since I've been kind of stealing your thunder here a little bit?
So Brandon is going to be our official pitcher.
Ah, okay. So Brandon, you're in the hot spot. So do you want to give us kind of the 411 on what your, I know I've kind of stolen a little bit from you as an example, but would you like to put it in your own words? What the Department of Education is trying to do?
Yeah, I know. I think you did a pretty good job. So the Department of Education, we get like $5 of every $6 from the legislature, and we need to have a process by which we can communicate with them in terms of, you know, getting budget appropriations and the bills that they want to do. And so our system that we've used is basically from the 90s, and we need to update it, especially as some of our IT folks are about to retire. So we're asking for a new platform, and we hope you can help.
Okay, that's good. Excellent. Nice to meet you both. And just Brandon will be pitching then, Misty, is that what I heard properly? But will you both be available on Slack at times to answer questions, or will you both be at Zoom? Because, and this goes for John and Ian and Rika as well. We ask you to be very active on Slack to answer questions. The more you interact with the people, the better your solutions are, by the way. I've seen it over the years. The really hyperactive challenge sponsors, the apps that we got were always way better than the ones that people just kind of guessed what you wanted, right?
Good. That's good info. Thanks.
Yeah. And then that's the value of that hour after the challenge on the 15th, and that hour on the 22nd is to be available to let people pick your brains. And again, not everybody has to be there, but we asked at least one representative from each team be there. Okay. All right, Ruby and Carl, would you like to go next, please?
Okay, thank you, and good morning. I have a question for Sunny real quick. Sunny, I'm not exactly sure what materials you have, so maybe if you could confirm with us the materials, whether or not you have the materials. I know we have the use case in, but I don't know what other additional materials you might already have given to Thelma.
I would like to answer that, and Sunny, if you have something to, we asked Sunny to have you, I know that right now you're collecting your data in a Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So if you could give us, however you have to desensitize it, so you don't give us anything that's like not public. If you can give us at least like the columns and the rows, and then maybe some fake data, that would be really helpful for teams to understand what you're doing now. So that would be very valuable. And then any one or two of the reports that you generate using that spreadsheet will give them again an example of what you're trying to achieve with the data you're trying to gather.
Okay. So I guess part of the problem is we don't know exactly, we don't know exactly what kind of, on the slide deck. I mean, we could have screenshots of various.
No. Okay, you don't put that on your slide deck. Sorry. This would be a file that you provide to us, that we provide to the teams to download and look at. Sorry, not on your deck. It would be too confusing, and that would be so messy. So no. Well, I'll go into actually how to do the presentation materials in a minute. But so I meant those are additional materials that would be helpful to your teams to solve your problem, because it'll give them a live example of what you're doing and what you're reporting on.
Okay. All right. Okay. So just to let you know where the audio is, we're having problems with the audio for the meeting right now, but so just real quickly, I'll introduce myself. I'm Ruby Edwards. I'm a senior planner here at the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development with the state of Hawaii. With me is Carl Miura. He's our TOD Council coordinator, and we are part of the staff that supports the Hawaii Interagency Council for Transit-Oriented Development. And the transit-oriented development, for those who don't know, is really about mixed-use community building around public transit. So higher density nodes that allow people to use a multiple use transit in rather than individual vehicles to get around and to meet their we're cutting out. I don't know why we're cutting out here.
I can hear you just fine. Anybody else having
All right,
problems?
sorry. Okay, so what we're trying to do is by servicing this interagency council, it's made up of state and county agencies as well as some private sector entities and state legislators. We are attempt to coordinate and facilitate both state agency and county agency efforts. We just lost your picture. Are you still there? Okay. Cool. In terms of the projects and initiatives they have moving forward for transit-oriented development on every island. So we have a state strategic plan that we support, and it identifies projects across the state. Right now, we have like 61 projects or plus that we're monitoring. We have a access database for the TOD projects that we have not yet implemented because we developed it. We haven't populated it. So we're using Excel spreadsheets as on an interim basis to be able to just monitor projects, report on how they're doing, check whether or not they've received financing or funding, where they are in their project development. And the whole idea is that this information becomes a way of communicating to legislators and decision makers what investments should be made in public infrastructure, or where CIP funds could be used to support transit-oriented development statewide. So
just so you're, will you give access to that, or do you want the data to flow into that access database? Would that be the ideal situation for you?
That's the ideal, but in talking with Sunny, he thought that actually, because we have a different problem. We have a problem that because of the Excel spreadsheet, we've been using that to pull in the progress. We asked for agencies to update their project almost monthly as well as annually.
So
we have
again, so
narrative data as well as numeric data.
So if you gave them an app that they could put their data in with that, and they could flow directly, and maybe not this in this incarnation, flow directly into your access database, that would be helpful to you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're hoping to do.
So again, you're the, do you ever use the DBET, or do you just go Office of Operations, Transportation Operations Development? Is that, do I have the TOD right?
I'm sorry, you were cutting in and out, so I'm not exactly sure what that question was.
Hang on.
Hey, Ruby, just to let you know, whatever's happening on your side, we can see you and hear everything perfectly. So
Yeah, so there's some weakness going on your side.
Definitely.
So I'm looking for a definition, and I'm going to write this in the chat. So if you could look at that, and that sometimes makes it easier. Definition for the TOD. And do you ever use, do you ever use the DBET acronym when you're referring to your department?
Do we ever use what? I'm sorry.
I see you have OPSD.
Right.
So if you could give me what your actual what your department is,
Okay.
But why don't you email it to me, since you're struggling with. Okay.
So you're saying in my introduction, I should first define OPSD. Okay.
And
so
don't just use the acronyms. These people will not know what TOD is or OPSD. So
right.
you do definitely need to make sure people are clear of what your department is.
Okay. And I did that at the beginning, but I didn't explain what OPSD was. So I did say it was, okay, so we need to, so we've done the introduction, and then you want me to be able to be more concise about what the problem is in our ask, right? So the problem is we are collecting a lot of data. It's in a flat Excel spreadsheet, and we want it to be converted into a relational database for which we have a structure, but it is not populated yet. Plus, we are updating that data on a regular basis, and we need a better way to do that, that other agencies can provide either online that we can then download to our database or to the Excel spreadsheet as needed.
Exactly. So perfect. And so that's again, we're just still talking about the introductory phase here, right?
Okay.
So that's your brief microcosm. Okay, let's move on to the final group. That's Vince. Vince, I know you've done these types of talks before, so if you can just give us a quick, your challenge is pretty straightforward. So why don't you go next?
Checking the audio. Hi, I'm Vince Huang. I'm with the State Office of Enterprise Technology Services. And the goal for my HACC pitch is to develop a link shortener, providing a mechanism for us to have shortened links that we use for marketing communications, so that we can reference websites that are deeper linked and it's harder to reference. Two advantages there is that it's easier to share a shortened link, but from the security side, is one of my primary functions here at ETS, is that we know it's from a trusted domain, and there's less likely that there'll be malicious software that's associated with it.
Perfect. Okay. So now that we have the basis, I do want to answer a quick question for Brandon, because this is really important. For calendar purposes, you need to be available October 15th from 9:30 to 3 is correct. Because you're going to be on stage sometime between 10:30 and 11:30, and then you can go take a break. You can go have lunch. We're gonna have some of our sponsors in some classrooms, and then we're gonna ask you to come back from 1:30 to 2:30 to the question breakout rooms. So you'll each have your own breakout room at that day. On November 22nd, October 22nd, woo, that just whole month went away. On October 22nd is a interim workshop in the afternoon from about 11:30 HST to about 12:30. Again, we have challenge sponsored breakout rooms, and people float around, the people who attended the morning workshop on security and privacy. Usually, and other people will come in, and then they'll come and say, hey, I really want to do your challenge, but I have some questions. So Ruby and Carl, it's going to be really important that you find a location where your internet is stronger than it is proving to be today. So
And
I don't know,
Thelma, this is going to be on Zoom, right?
it is going to be on Zoom.
Thanks.
So it'll be the same. That's one of the reasons we're on Zoom today, because I wanted to kind of see if you had any problems, and it worked. So Ruby and Carl, I have a feeling it has to do with the fact that you're trying to use it.
Yeah, this is really exceptionally bad, and I'm not sure if it's okay, but we could do it.
You can each sign in individually
our own
from your
desks
own
if we need to.
computers.
Yeah,
It won't have a negative impact on the event if you each sign in from your own computers. In fact, it'll probably be better if you do it that way.
yeah,
And
it's
sorry to interrupt. Hey, Ruby, I've seen this before. If you exit the meeting and come back in, it actually might help.
That is true, John. Thank you for that suggestion.
Maybe you want to do that?
okay. We're going to do that. Oh, but we might miss some. We'll just struggle through. We don't have to present anything. We don't have to interact, right? We're just listening.
That's fine for right now. Yes.
Okay.
I will, before we end today, I'll have you be my last group if you don't mind. We'll see if we can get you working better. Okay. Because I want to do a tech check anyway. So this is a perfect time to do
Okay,
that.
so I think in that case, we will leave the meeting and try and rejoin. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay. What the time on October 22nd is about 11:30 to 12:30. And please feel comfortable and may always come a little early. So if my workshop ends early, we'd like to kick that part off right away. So 11:15-ish maybe, right? So make sure you're there by 11:15, plan to be there till 12:30, a little longer. Then on November, then you have a weekend off. And then on November 5th, we recommend you come and listen to the pitches. Because if you actually want to try to implement anything, you should hear what the teams come up with. And this is a really good opportunity to see their demonstrations of their solutions. So that is the challenges start to get presented about 10:15. So from about 10:15 till about 1 o'clock. And then we usually break to let's see if they came back in here. Let me admit them back in again. Hang on a minute. And then from there, you don't have to stick around to see who won unless you're welcome to, but I'm just saying that the time you want to be there is definitely for your window, and we'll have a schedule out to you, what your window of when the presentations are going to be made on your topic. Okay. And Ruby and Carl, that I'll review that with you. I just went over some of the dates and times. And is this better for you guys?
Yeah, it's so far so good.
Okay, so fingers crossed. Okay, so I'll review the times again before we end today. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. So a pro tip here is the mom test is what we call it. And the bottom line is however you present the introduction part of your presentation on the 15th should be really succinct and brief, and so that somebody can go, oh, that's the department of the transportation operations department is collecting data, and they want to figure out how to report upon it and collect the data in a more succinct way than through flat spreadsheets. And so you want to make sure that somebody can repeat what you've said. So that's why that first 1 or 2 minutes of your presentation should be a very brief kernel of, here in a nutshell is what why I'm here today. Okay. And that's what the bar pitch and the other pitch is, the bar pitch and the elevator pitch is about is, can I get my needs down to a very brief concept that somebody can easily repeat or explain to maybe one of their teammates who didn't make the event. So the introduction is to pique their interest. And now you want to kind of go into the problem a little more. And so now we're starting to get into a little more depth in the pitch, and again, using the Ruby and Carl's example now, is their problem is they get all this data constantly, and it's really hard for them to stay on top of it and report on it, and make sure money's getting out and money's being spent properly. So this is really scary, right? There's lots of money involved here, and there's a lot of time, and there's a lot of accuracy. So then my ask is somehow to gather the data more efficiently and then report on it more efficiently through a database, so that we can better justify the expenditures, better justify, make sure that our partners are doing their jobs. So you can see how a very brief introduction to pique their interest, and then explaining the problem and the solution will help keeping them interested and intrigued by your challenge. The HACC reverse pitch itself is a combination of the bar and elevator, as I was saying, and then the details. So this is where you really want to take a deeper dive after you've done, but first do that introduction. Do not skip that step, because that's the beginning of the pitch and the end of the pitch are the ones that people remember the best. So the intermediate stuff is like, hey, here's who this affects. This is why it's a problem. And here are the kind of things we think we need. one of the things you want to make sure you have is, like unique data sets. So like in NIC Hawaii's project, they have all this data and they don't want it to come out as spreadsheets. They want to come out in something a little more user-friendly, a little more visual. So they're going to supply data sets as part of their ask, and then they're going to have people develop easy methods to visualize that data for them. Okay, so they're going to go into this. We got all this data and we're delivering it in a funky way. Our problem is we want to deliver it more efficiently and more elegantly and more usability to it. So we're going to give you all this data. We're going to ask you to solve our, the data visualization issue in an elegant way. And so I'm doing this in like a minute and a half, but now you might talk about what data sets you're going to give them. You might talk about why they should care. So like, I like Ruby's example because it's like, look, there's all this money being thrown at the transportation industry. And if we're not getting good data back and we're not getting good reporting back, we don't know if it's a waste of money or not. That's a real problem. And if the legislature doesn't get their questions answered, they're like, cut that out. That's an easy place to cut out. And it can be devastating if people are using the transportation for, to get to work. So that's a problem. So collecting the data and reporting upon it is going to be very valuable. Okay. And you have 10 minutes to do that. So this is where you want to do, after you have that 1 minute or 2 minutes of that 10 minutes of, here's what I'm trying to do in a nutshell. Now let me talk a little more about it. Now let's talk about how you present it. First of all, once you put your pitch together, make sure you practice it a bunch. So I would recommend this weekend and next week, start putting all your pieces together. Add visuals. Visuals are really important. We're going to be on a Zoom conference call. If you have pie charts and stuff, visual data is okay, but don't give graphs like a spreadsheet with rows and columns, because no one will be able to see that and you'll lose interest. So like for the DOE one, you might want to have a picture of the legislative, the Capitol, and then maybe, people in session. So something that like really elicits, or people at giving testimony, somebody giving so you want pictures speak a lot of words. For the bus stuff, maybe you have a bus and you show people waiting for a bus at a bus stop. These are ways to visualize what your task is. And I've seen a lot of your pitches, Vince, so I'm sure you come up with some really nice pie charts and stuff like that to explain your problem. And your problem's a little more succinct, so you might not have a lot of gory detail, but use some visuals even then, and then make them feel something. Oh my God, if they can't get this data right, the ledge is going to cut funding to transportation industry. Oh my God, if they don't, use this data that's all collected at, by NIC, then we're failing on the money we spent on those kind of resources, right? So make them feel something. Feel free to crack jokes and to be lighthearted as well, because people like to do work for people they like. So try to be, you yourself should be also presenting yourself and be as welcoming and as friendly as you can.
So sorry, is this all in a PowerPoint, or is there another medium by which we're using?
Yeah, I asked you to do a pitch deck of some sort. I recommend that you convert it to a PDF or use a PowerPoint yourself. And then the great free tools are, you can use Canva, and pitch.com are great for creating pitch decks. So they have a lot of templates that you can use. So you have something a little more eye-catching, and it has like this deck that we're using today came from Canva, and it has these kind of cool graphics. So you don't always have to have like the bus on your thing, but you have to have some graphics. It shouldn't be like just words and, and you can even you should have a picture of yourself, maybe a picture of your office, and just be creative and have some fun with it as well. You can use Loom and OBS Studios to practice in front of your computer, since this is going to be delivered over Zoom anyway. So what I do sometimes is I go on to Zoom or Loom and I record the pitch, and then I come back to see how it looks. And I'm always like, that's terrible. So I do it again. So sometimes you can practice using those tools and then watch how you did and go, okay. And then what I also do is, well, I sometimes will go record. Loom is great for this. You can record and then you can pause and you can go back and listen to it and see, ooh, I got to tweak this. So create a script for yourself. I usually, what I do is, and feel free to read if you're more comfortable with that. What I do is I create a note, and here I'll come back to this slide, but hang on a second here. I'm going to show you an example of a deck that I did recently, so you can see what I'm talking about. And I had to record it for them because they were translating it from English to another language. So let me find the slide back here. Excuse me. Here we go. So what I did is when I was practicing this session myself, I changed the view to notes, sorry, like this. That's the master. I'm in the wrong place. Excuse me a minute. This is what I wanted. And so you see I had notes under here. And so I was in front of the screen and this window was right in front of my camera. And I'm like, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And they turned out really well. So because no one's going to be able to see that, you can, and if you have a PowerPoint, you can have, and you have multiple screens, you can do that. Or you could print out the notes section for yourself because you're going to be sharing your screen. You can also have us share the screen for you if you want, but then you have to say next slide, which is not always very elegant. But then you can go, hi, my name is Thelma Elaine, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, you know, and then you read, and sometimes people feel a little more comfortable reading their script, and no one's going to care. But do remember to like not be, hi, I am Thelma Elaine, and I am the right. So try to be a little more comfortable. Try to make sure that you are communicating succinctly with everybody. Okay, so if you don't have my email address by now, you can reach me on Slack once you join. And there's my email address if you want to write that down. If you guys want, I'll put it in the chat. But that's all you need to know. And if you have any questions or need any help, feel free to reach out to me. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to put my email address in here. And if you want to send me any materials for your challenge as well, you can do that. I can't type and talk at the same time. All right. All right. So what questions? Help. Was that too fast? Do you want to practice anything? This is the time to do that.
Are you going to be able to send that PowerPoint?
Oh,
it has
yeah.
a lot of good. Okay.
Oh yeah. I will send it to everybody whose email addresses I already have, and then it will also be posted on hack.hawaii.gov. Okay. But I will send it to you because it'll take a little longer for it to get on the website than might be helpful. I won't be able to do it till Sunday. That's why I'm saying that. Anyone else?
Will you be sending a full schedule of all the events and everything for us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And just so you I'll give you a quick encapsulation. I'll repeat it again. It won't hurt everybody else to hear it again. October 15th. You're on screen from about 10:15 till about 11:15, depending on how fast people pitch. Then we do a bunch of stuff, so you can go take a break, and then you come back at 1:30 to 2:30 is the breakout rooms for the challenge sponsors. So you have a morning session and then an afternoon session on the 15th. On the 22nd, it's just an afternoon session. We ask that you get there around 11:15. Your session will go live around 11:30 or once everybody's there and the other session is completed till about 12:30 on October 22nd. Then the next time you need to be available is on November 5th. And that's to hear the reverse pitches, or not to hear the solution pitches, excuse me. And then from there, it's great for you to hear them live because they often give a live demo. And if you're going to consider any of these are prototypes, remember, they're not going to be anything you can go live with instantaneously. But these are prototypes that you can consider as a starting point to finding your long-term solution to these problems. And sometimes people invite the teams to come meet with them and so forth. So it's always nice for you to see what they did on judging day rather than wait for a video afterwards.
And what time is it? And what are the timeframes on November 5th?
It's the pitches start about 10:15 and they go about 11:30. It just depends on how many teams we have. So 11:30 to 12. We usually do the high school. So if you have a team that's a high school team that pitches your idea, your idea is pitched. All the high school teams pitch together because they're actually competing against each other. And then we go back to the adult solutions, and those are, each one will be by the 5 categories. Okay. So it's hard for me to tell. Right now the order I have is Department of Education. I think you guys are second, and I'm going to stop there. Vince is third, UH is fourth, and NIC. We get to let you be last is my memory of what the schedule is of order. And that order will be kept consistent. So that's the order that you guys will pitch in. And that is the order that you will, sorry, Brandon, that means you're going first. And that is the order that we usually do the challenge solution presentations in as well. We do that, and that's how it'll show up on the website. So that I just did that by whose pitches came in first. So Brandon, you and Misty were just too good. You got your stuff in too early. So guess what? You get to go first. Sometimes that's better, but okay. But I will be sending you a full schedule. I'm just making a note to myself to do that.
So Thelma, we can send you as much material as you want to dig through, and you'll just determine what you want to post in the Slack on Slack.
Yeah, don't send me too much to bog me down though.
Okay. Yeah,
just keep try to give me like one spreadsheet and a couple of reports is what I'm asking.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Otherwise, I'll be like, which one is the best one? So I'm going to rely on you to say, here's a really good example of a spreadsheet. Here's a really good example of the kind of reports we're asked for. And you may want to have a report that you give out to the ledge and an example of a report you give out to other people, right?
Oh, yeah. What about reports we would like to do? Like if we wanted to be able to export it to a story map or something like that.
Try to create an example and show them what you have in mind.
All right.
Okay, so let's just really quickly, everybody's been able to get on and share their screen. They know how to do their, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, since you guys are on screen right now, can you share your screen with me? Oh, here, hang on. I have to do this first. Give me a second. So we'll start with Ruby and Carl. I'm going to make you, I have to make you a co-host. And once you're a co-host, you should see a little green button on the bottom of your screen that says share my screen. So can you share your screen with me? So there should be tool sets at the bottom, underneath your faces. Perfect. So this is what you would do, and obviously it wouldn't be this. Your presentation would be here.
Right. Right. Yeah, we
And
just
this
share
is
the screen.
Yeah, and if you only have one screen, this is where I recommend you print out your notes of what you want to
Right.
see. And then
Okay.
have them, so this will be what you're showing. And then we're going to actually spotlight you. So the camera will be only on you. So that will look like this. So everybody sees what that looks like. That should have spotlighted you, but it doesn't seem to be doing it. So can you guys
They put a
just
green
see?
box around us. They put a green box around us.
Usually what happens
Sorry.
is I know it's my display. It's the way I'm using my Zoom. So hang on a second here. I'm on standard view. This is what a speaker view would look like. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. So up on, and I'm going to go through this in a second here. So, okay, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen for a brief second here so you guys can see what I was trying to show you.
You can use.
Hang on a second while I bring something up to share. So let's do this, share. So what will happen is I'm going to unspotlight you guys. So now it's being ornery here. It doesn't like me to share the screen and do this other stuff. So participants. Okay, so I removed you from Spotlight and now I'm putting myself for spotlights. So you see, I don't know if you can see this, but now I'm next to the presentation. Is that the way it looks for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do on Saturday. We're going to have your presentation. You're going to be sharing your screen and we're going to spotlight you and any of your other team members who are going to be talking. And we'll be making you a co-host so that you can share your screen. You won't be able to share your screen until we make you a co-host. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing again. And I'm going to take co-host off of you guys just so that it's not confusing. So Brandon, I'm going to make you co-host next and just quickly share your screen for me. And it could be anything. We're not trying to. And then I can spotlight you so I have to remove the spotlight from me. And I'm going to make Ruby, not Ruby, excuse me. So I'm going to spotlight you. And I'm going to spotlight Misty. So Misty, if you don't want to be on screen, you just let us know, but I can still add you to the spotlight so you see both of you would be on the screen like that. And I wanted to use that as an example of what it might look like when there's multiple people on the screen. Okay. All right, Brandon, looks like you don't have a problem with that. And again, I recommend notes and so forth. So if you would stop sharing your screen. So this is what's going to happen is we're going to go, the MC is going to go, Brandon, you're up next. You'll be made co-host that morning before you, so that co-host thing won't be me doing it at there. It will have made you co-host when you come in. And we'll be adding like a C in front of your name so we can find you easily because there'll be a couple hundred people there. And then what will happen is the MC will go, Brandon, you're up next. Get ready to share your screen. And then he'll say, okay, thank you, Brandon. That was great. Please stop sharing your screen. Thank you for your presentation. And then he'll go, Ruby and Carl, it's time for you. Could you get ready and start sharing your screen? And then so it'll flow that way. Okay. All right. The spotlights. And I won't keep doing the spotlight thing because now I think everybody's got an idea. John, will you be giving the presentation or will be Ian and Rika?
I'll be doing it.
Okay, so I'm going to make you co-host so that you can show me that you can share your screen. I have no doubt you can. Perfect. Okay. And so that's all you'll do. And then you'll give your presentation with your slide deck or whatever, you know what. And the nice thing about having a Zoom thing is you can jump into, if you have a website you want to display, you can give your presentation, you can kind of pause. And I recommend like having the screens up and you can quickly bring them up and have a conversation about that. Okay, so John, thank you very much for your presentation. You can stop sharing your screen. Let's see, Vince, I'm going to make you co-host next. And if you would just share your screen real quick with me. And I think that covers everybody, right? Yeah. Okay. Vince, you're
Okay.
up. I know you know how to do this, but I'm just covering all my bases. Perfect. And so again, that's all it's going to be. You give your presentation for as long as you feel like talking, up to 10 minutes. I have never had to cut off a challenge sponsor. You guys are typically very nervous. And I have the first time I was the administrator of this event, we were a half an hour early because I really gave each of you 10 minutes plus transition. And we were done a half an hour early. So please don't be nervous. Please relax. Take as much of that 10 minutes you want. Take a couple extra minutes. No one's going to cut you off. But you will not be answering. The one thing I do want to emphasize, and Vince, you can stop sharing your screen if you'd like.
Okay.
The one thing I do want to emphasize is you will not be answering questions during your presentation. Your 10 minutes are about you and your challenge. And that's all it's about. And that's what the afternoon 1:30 to 2:30 and the November 22nd and the Slack channel is about. That's where they're supposed to ask you questions. So we ask them to gather their questions to prepare to ask them of you in the afternoon. Again, we will show you how to, in breakout rooms that morning, or that afternoon, how to record, or we will have somebody record, because we like to often record that session if we can, because sometimes it captures some really good information that's nice to share on, and then we just share it on Slack. We don't put it on the website. That's really all I have. We just did our tech check. Everybody seems to be okay. So if you run into a problem like that Ruby and Carl ran into where the sound is, a good solution is to log out and log back in. In extreme cases, you have to restart your browser window. And in really extreme cases, you have to restart your computer. But I have 90% of the problems are actually resolved by logging off and logging back in. Something just kind of gets out of sync. And obviously, if you're up and things are struggling, we'll have you log off and have the next person go out and then have you come back in and do your pitch afterwards. So we won't be like, okay, well, that's too bad. We're not doing yours. But I will ask you to make sure your pitch decks are sent to us in advance. And here's the reason why. So if you get the decks to me and Sunny by no later than, say, the 13th or 14th, 13th would probably be good. We'll convert them into PDFs and we'll put them up somewhere where the MC can get them. So if you start to have computer issues, sometimes people have to turn off their screens. Sometimes they have to stop sharing if their bandwidth is funky. And then what we will do is we'll do the presentation for you and you just have to do the talking. And if you're in a feel like you would rather be done that way, just let us know and we'll be happy to do it that way for you. Okay. Have I answered everybody's questions? Does everybody feel like they can now tackle this piece of their challenge process? Everybody good?
I think we're good.
Okay. You know how to reach me on Slack. Has anybody joined Slack yet?
Yeah, on Slack right now.
Yeah, Vince, you were on there already, so that doesn't
Are-
count.
Are the pitches going to be recorded and then published on YouTube? Okay,
Yes, yes,
All right,
yes.
all right.
And then we show the YouTube video on the website as quickly as we can after the 15th.
okay. Just on the nitpicking side, are we using Zoom to do the translation or pushing it to YouTube and having YouTube do the translation?
We don't do
Caption?
translations.
I mean, captioning.
As far as I know, we've never done captions.
Oh, okay, got it.
Because so the reason I had to do my video in advance is because I was doing English and I was translating to Saudi as Arabic.
Okay. all
But
right,
that, so I was talking about a presentation for that situation. So you can see why they wanted me to translate in advance, and they ran it through some translation tool, and it was really cool because I didn't know what it was saying. It could be saying, "You guys are all idiots," right? But it's like this really cool Arabic script and no one's like started like yelling at me, so I guess it worked. So, but yeah, so it would make sense to do it for hearing people who might have hearing issues. So I'll talk with the team about maybe seeing if we can do captions on it. So.
All right, thanks. And just for Friday levity, I don't think Zoom has an filter yet, so I gotta practice on my side a little bit to cut back on those.
Yeah, and I caught myself today doing right. I don't know if any of you guys remember Todd Nakapoy. He had a very bad habit of saying right after everything, and I picked up that habit from him because I would talk to him a lot, and like for right out, he and I were like doing a project together, and I swear after meeting with him, I was talking to my sister and I was like, you know, right? Right? She goes, why are you doing it? She like really bashed me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing it. So I started doing it again today and I was like, uh-oh. Gotta
That's
kill
funny.
that habit.
I've been watching this news show. It's called Hallie Jackson Now. So I think NBC or something. And it's so funny because she does that on the show all the time.
Yeah.
And she's a
It's-
newscaster, right?
I think it's because we want to make sure people are you listening? Did you hear me? Did that make sense? And it's easier to just say, right? So it's like, oh, that's, and fortunately, when I did my presentation, the one that I had to record, I didn't do that because I was like reading my script. So that's why I like scripts. They encouraged me to do that. I was like, oh my God, that was so smart. They made it so, but that was, I didn't get my final pitch out. I recorded it like 12 times. The 13th time was the charm. And I was like, I can't, and I still made mistakes, but it was like nothing major. So what I'm really trying to express here is it can be challenging. Don't worry about it. No one will care. No one judges you. And it'll be just fine.
Yeah, Vince, just so you know, I didn't notice at all.
Did I not use it?
I didn't hear one single
Good. All right, good, excellent. All right, I won't keep you. I promised I would try not to go to the whole 5:30, which I think succeeded in doing. Sunny, do you have anything to add that you want to make sure? And I just want to see, I see Sheila and Janet popped in, but then disappeared again. So Sunny, is there anything you want to add that they might need to know that you need from them?
No, not this time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm going to hit stop record. And so in case you just